Hi, it's the Lipstick Gal. Thank you so much for watching today. It's time for some end of the year roundups. I always live for this time of the year. I love watching what other people loved. I love watching what they didn't love, especially. And I have been keeping, like Santa Claus, a list all year long of what was good and what was not. This list has 258 products on there, and those are all products that came into my collection this year. Some of them were sent to me by the brand, some of them I spent my own money on, but all of these here are the ones that are new in my collection, and it's a lot of makeup. It's a lot of makeup, but I wanted to be able to go through and tell you, what's good and what's not. So this is the worst products of 2025 that I tried. I'm going to start with the products that I don't have anymore because I either threw them away or returned them. I know there are some split thoughts on returning makeup. Here in the US, that is something that we can do at almost any beauty retailer. But the reason that I do it, and I don't do it for everything because I do have a lot of products that I don't like in front of me. But the reason that I do it is, first of all, did I spend a ton of money on it? And did I not like it? That's when it goes back. Or if it was supremely terrible and I can't even try and get a way to make it work, like there's no way to make it work, that's when it goes back. There are a lot of products that I have tried that I have here. Are they my favorite? No. Do I still occasionally reach for them? Yeah. Do I gift them to other people like my kids or my friends? Yes. I'll throw pictures up of the ones that I'm talking about here on the screen for you because I just don't have them anymore. The first one was the Milani Conceal and Perfect Blur Out Skin Tint Stick. I got the shade 01 and I returned it. And this is so weird. I know so many people liked it. So many people really, really liked it. It might end up on some people's best of the year, but it didn't work for me. I turned 50 this year and I feel like my skin is changing almost like week by week. Things are different all the time, and that just did not sit pretty on the skin. It emphasized texture, it emphasized wrinkles. It just didn't look good, and I was not about to wear something that made me look older. Next is from NYX. This is the Butter Melt Skin Glaze Skin Tint. I had the shade Whipped Butter, but I'll tell you, it looked greasy on my face. It just was too hydrating. It was too much for me. I didn't like the way that it also looked like it was sitting on top of my skin. What I'm always looking for is for a product to become one with my skin, to make me look like a better version of myself, to make it look like I'm not really wearing a ton of makeup. And this was one where it was like, oh, you're wearing makeup and so much of it. And that is not at all what I'm going for. Here's one that got returned because she was so expensive, and I was not going to keep something that was this expensive. It was from Dior. It was the Dior Forever Nude Bronze. I got the shade number 10 Soft Matte. Okay, I thought that this was the lightest shade there was because the shade was shade 10. There was shade 10, shade 20, shade 30, shade 40, and those were the options on the Sephora website. Now, had I known that the Dior website would have more shades, I might have checked there, but I purchased what I thought was the lightest shade from this new Dior bronzer, and I'll tell you, I looked orange. I looked like an Oompa Loompa. I did not look good at all. Oh my goodness. And there was no making it work because it wasn't like a little bit of sun. It was like you're painting your face with Cheeto dust. And there was no getting around it. It was just way too orange for my complexion. And I was very confused because it was the lightest shade there was in the Sephora website. Now, somebody told me eventually that there was a shade 01. And I was like, if there's 01, what am I doing with shade 10? I had no idea. I don't live in a place where there is a Dior counter that I can go to. And after having such a big miss with something at a high price tag, because it was like the really big one, I just decided it was more important for me to just stick with what I could swatch in person or that I knew was going to work for the undertone that I was looking for. Just something that was not quite so orange. I was worried the whole lineup was going to be orange. IT Cosmetics came out with a new concealer this year. It was the Do It All Radiant Concealer. I had the shade Ferrous Neutral. It was the lightest shade there was. The second lightest shade was too dark for me. The first lightest shade was a little on the too fair side. I wish they had a better range. That might have helped with the problem that I was having, that it really looked very noticeable under the eyes. That's not what I want. I don't want it to be like nothing but my under eyes like blaring out at you. And it was highlighting all of the texture that I have under here. All of my fine lines were extremely visible. It was a really radiant and hydrating concealer, so it looked kind of glowy, and I didn't need the glow. Even after I patted it down with powder, I didn't need that extra radiant glow coming from right under here. It just didn't look good. It didn't sit well on my skin, and it did me no favors under the eyes, and that's usually what I'm getting a concealer for, is my under eyes. I have some dark circles, and that is of utmost concern for me, and when something doesn't work that way, has to be a real special formula for me to keep. I can't think of one concealer that I love that doesn't work under my eyes and everywhere else. Here's another one that I returned, and it was basically because they didn't have a shade for me. It was so unfortunate. It was new from Lancome this year. It was the Skinny Doll Serum Super Tint. I picked the lightest shade in 01, and it was so dark on me. It was so dark. It was probably 2 to 3 levels darker than what I normally wear. Now, my goal when I'm wearing makeup is to make my face match my neck and my chest. That's always what I'm going for. And when it looks like I have a much darker face and a much lighter neck and chest, oh, that's when I know we have a problem. And the formula was great, but the shade range was terrible. I feel like there have been a lot of new releases from Lancome over the past couple of years that I can't try because they don't have a shade range for me. It's such a bummer. And I know their Tanti Doll Ultra, that they have the matte formula that everybody loves. Okay, but my skin is getting older. I need something that's not so matte. I need something that's a little bit more hydrating. And this skin tint looked beautiful. It looked really pretty on the skin. It just was not the right shade. Here's something that I recently had at an empties, and I finished it up and I was glad to be done with it. It was the new Tubing Mascara Duo from Dibs. It was a double standard primer and mascara duo. One side had a brown primer with a lengthening mascara wand on it, and the other side had a volumizing brush with a black tubing mascara. Now, I like that it was tubing. Both the brown primer and the black mascara were both tubing formulas. Came off perfectly with water. Loved that about it. But the problem I had was when I first cracked it open, it was rather dry. It was a dry formula. And my fear was, and I was right, that it wasn't going to last for a full 3 months before it was completely dried out, and I couldn't get it to last on my lashes without flaking off and like dropping into my eyes. And so once a mascara gets too dry and it starts getting a little flaky, you know, it's given up the ghost and it's time to put it in the bin. So that one from Dibs, I don't think that for the $30 or $31 for the full size is worth it when you don't even get 3 months out of it. Here's one that I recently tried that I took straight back to Ulta because I just couldn't get it to work for me. It was from L'Oreal. It was the Haute Precision Felt Tip liquid eyeliner. I had mine in the shade brown leather, and it was a very fine tipped, and it had a lot of control to it. The problem that I had with this liquid liner was that it would not evenly lay down a line of color unless the lid was bare. I can't remember the last time I reached for an eyeliner and didn't have eyeshadow on. I'm always putting liner over shadow. And so I need something where it's going to still adhere over the top of eyeshadow. And this, it was a huge struggle. It was leaving little gaps, and it's a brown liquid liner. The last thing you want is gaps in your liquid liner. So that was a real big fail for me. It also didn't last as long as it said it was supposed to last for like 28 hours. I found that the little wing that I like to make at the edge of my eye by the end of the day was gone. So it was supposed to be waterproof and smudge proof. Neither of those things were true. I just didn't really care for it, and it went back to Ulta. Another thing I returned also from L'Oreal was kind of hoping for good things. Every time I go to the drugstore, I always am hoping for the best. But the Lumi Soleil bronzer, it's a bronzing stick that has a little bit of shimmer to it. Another product that was just way too orange for my taste. And the highlight and the shimmer that was in the product was more than I could handle. Now, I don't mind a slightly glowy bronzer. I tend to prefer that in a powder formula where it's just got a slight hint of it, so it looks more like radiant skin as opposed to a highlighted bronzer. But this was more like a highlighted bronzer, and it was very, very orange. I got the lightest bronze shade. The lightest shade overall, they had a rosy shade, but they called it a blush. And I was like, I don't want a blush, I want a bronzer. I didn't really like it, and it just wasn't for me. Okay, those are all the things I don't have anymore. Let's talk about the things that I do have. This was kind of a let down. It's from Tier. This is the Mask Fit Red Foundation. Now, I last year had the Tier Mask Fit cushion in my favorites of the year. I love it. And I was expecting this to be the same, only instead of being a cushion with a very small amount in there, an entire 1 ounce bottle. It's got a nice pump on it. It's got everything going for it, but the formulas are not the same. I actually looked at the ingredients from this foundation to the cushion, and the ingredients are different. And if the ingredients are different, the formulation is different. So the problem I had is this looked heavy on my skin. And the older I get, the more I want to look like a refreshed version of myself, not a heavy version of myself. This was just too heavy on the skin. I didn't like the way that it looked. Another product that didn't work for me because it was also very heavy on the skin was this. It's from e.l.f. It's the Halo Glow Skin Tint. This has SPF 50 in it. Now, if you're going to use it as an SPF, you have to put on a 1/4 teaspoon on your face. And a 1/4 teaspoon is a lot. And that's what made it look heavy. If you're just going to use a regular SPF first and then put this down, you don't need as much of it. I still couldn't get it to work even when I wasn't trying to use it as an SPF, but there was no way to use it as an SPF. It ends up sitting on the surface of the skin. It's really radiant. I think it's really pretty, but I just couldn't make it work for me, and it just made me look terrible. Let's talk about something that you shouldn't spend your hard-earned dollars on. This YSL powder, oh, I wanted to love it. This right here is the All Hours Hyper Blur. Now, when you have blur in the name, what do I expect? I expect flawless, no pores. This doesn't blur, first of all. Second of all, the lightest shade is just chalk white. I wish there was more of a skin tone shade, you know, maybe a pale pink or something. But this, I don't want to spill it, is just not worth the cash. Is it a bad powder? No, but when I'm paying more than $40 for something, I want it to be beautiful. I want it to live up to the pretty packaging that it comes in. And I feel like it came in the square container because this was new this year. Earlier this year, Givenchy had made the huge mistake of reformulating their Prismalib powder, and it came in a square box like this. And I think that YSL was trying to cash in on the, oh, nobody likes it, let's put out a powder, let's make the packaging similar. I really love the packaging. Packaging is so pretty, but who cares about the packaging? It's what's inside. Is it bad? No, but it's bad for the price. Like when you're paying luxury prices, I'm expecting pretty close to perfection. This wasn't good. This is not a bad product. This just doesn't work for me and for what I like to look like because it brings out my texture. And it's from NYX. They came out with these buttermelt highlighters this year. I got the one in Bright Butter. It's actually really pretty. It works well as an inner corner highlight. I mean, it is so blinding. It's very, very, very pretty. But the truth is, it just makes my cheeks, especially like right in through here, it just makes them look dry. It makes them look powdery. It makes them more textured. If there's any amount of dry skin, guess who clings on for dear life? This doesn't look good on my mature skin. I think it would work for somebody with younger skin, and maybe NYX is a brand for people who are younger, but this just does not do me any favors at all. I wish it did. All right, here is something from About Face. I usually love About Face products. This was new this year. This is their Blush Rush. This liquid blush left a lot to be desired. It's actually really pretty. I liked the color that I chose. I like everything about it. I like how it's a glowy pigment. The problem is it doesn't last. You don't even get 3 hours out of this before it's gone. Now, I know that liquid products tend to not last as long as others, but if I'm going to be reapplying my blush, 3 to 4 times a day just to get through the day, I don't have time for that. I need something with a little bit more staying power. This was actually really pretty on the cheeks. I just couldn't get it to last. Even with powder over the top, it still kind of did a vanishing act. And I don't need Houdini in a tube. I need something that's going to stay. Here are some products that were sent to me by Prime Prometics. They sent me 5 of these. These are their Prime Eyes Brightener. And it's basically, I mean, they're really lovely, but they're just shadow sticks. They're very creamy. They have a sharpener on the other end so you can sharpen them. They have some pretty colors. The 2 that I have here are super easy to wear. The problem that I have with these is that when you blend them, they almost disappear. Like you can blend and pretty soon, like 2 hours later, it's gone. The other problem I have is the pigment that is left settles into the crease and creates a really distinct line. Now, if it was a little bit of settling and not too bad, no, this is like most of the pigment disappears or shifts and collects in the crease. So all you have is a dark line of pigment. I can't handle that. I'm not putting up with that. I don't care that somebody sent me these. They just were not good. And this brand, oddly enough, is supposed to be focused on people who are more mature and dealing with mature skin issues. This was such a swing and a miss for me. It was really disappointing. Okay, a little luxurious pot from Victoria Beckham. This isn't new, but I had never tried the lid lusters before. I picked up the shade Chiffon. It's very elegant. I like that about it. This is also something that settles in the crease. And I don't want something that's going to accentuate the texture on my eyelid. The older I get, the more I want to blur and de-emphasize the texture that I have on my lid, not something that kind of calls attention to it. And especially the Victoria Beckham price, I don't want to have to worry about things like that, having to go to the bathroom and, you know, checking my eyeshadow. I just want it to be good all day. I want to know that when I put it on, I can trust it to stay where I put it. Okay, here's one that I'm really sad and I'm still using, but I can't tell you you should spend your money on it. And it's from Patrick Ta. Last year, he debuted these little duos for the holidays. They look like this. Last year's duos, I really like. I picked up 2 of them and I still use them to this day. This year, he debuted 5 more duos and I picked up the shade In Your Dreams. And it has kind of like this golden shade here and this champagne that has some silver flip to it. They're very lovely. But the problem with these, do you see how glittery they are? That glitter does not stay. It does not stay. I've used it with a glitter glue. I've used it with the Pat McGrath Artistry Eye Wand, where you lay down a clear layer of, it's kind of like sticky. Tap this over the top. I still end up with this on my chin, on my pants, on my shirt. I don't like it. And now that I've rubbed my fingers in it, there's going to be glitter everywhere. Even though I'm wiping it off on a towel, there's still a lot of glitter on my fingers. Is it beautiful? Yes. Would you look like a disco ball? Also, yes. This was such a disappointment to me. This is from Urban Decay. This is the Naked Shaped palette. I got the cool colorway. I mean, look at this. This is a Boring Betty's dream. A Boring Betty is what I call eyeshadow palettes that are very neutral, that are very, anybody would, you know, get a good work look out of it. Nothing exciting, no blues, no greens, no purples, no teals, just something that's going to be like a workhorse. And that's what this looks like. But the truth is, it doesn't really last that well. I have problems building up the pigment. I don't like the packaging of this. This whole bit here that slides up, I don't like that. I don't like that we don't have a mirror in here. It's also very chintzy feeling. It feels like it should be drugstore. The other thing that I don't like about it is these center shades here are all creams and they're just open to the air. There's no way of knowing how quickly they're going to dry out. And also any of these shimmery shades can get stuck in here. I think I've already been digging out shimmery shades out of the putties in the middle. And I just kind of abandoned this palette. It was, what, $49? $52? It was expensive. And I was hoping for like a slam dunk. No, 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 this was not good. I know some people liked it. I just didn't like it even a little bit. I picked this up during the summer season. This is from Kopari. This was their Sun Glazed Sheer Setting Mist. It's a sunscreen with an SPF 50 in it. You're supposed to shake it up because there is like some pearl that swirls through here. You can see it right in through here. I don't like that. It looks like you're spraying glitter on your face. The other problem I have with this is very hydrating, almost to the point of making your face look like a glazed donut. And it does say sun glaze. So I'll give them that. They're using glaze in the name, but it's too much. It's way too much. This made me look like a grease pig, and that's not what I'm wanting to look like, especially when I'm trying to reapply my SPF. And you need to spray a lot to get SPF coverage out of that. I'm always looking for the best brow products I can find, and this one from NYX let me down. This is the Blade and Shade. A couple of things that made me super hopeful. One is how tiny this is. I mean, this is the tiniest little pencil. You can use it going one direction, it'll make a wider mark, or you can turn it on its side and use it this way and make super skinny little marks. I love the design of this. It has a spoolie on the other end. I don't hate the lime green caps. It's super easy to locate wherever I have it. The problem I had with this is your girl is dealing with perimenopause and hot flashes. And the last thing I need is something that's not going to stay in the middle of a hot flash. And guess who completely disappears when temperatures heat up? Now, it wasn't just hot flash. Because if you're not dealing with hot flashes, but let's say it's hot where you live and you're perspiring and you do this, you're wiping your brows off. I want something, and I'm not like scrubbing my eyebrows with my forearm. I'm usually just kind of like dabbing sweat away, but this does not last. I would not recommend this. Here's something that's a little on the expensive side and I wanted to love more, and I think that's why it's in here. Is it bad? No. But should you spend your money on it? Also, I don't think so. And it's the reformulated Rock and Coal eyeliner from Charlotte Tilbury. Now, I picked up a shade that I really like. This is in the shade Smoky Bronze. I think it's actually a really pretty shade. I wanted to love this. It doesn't stay. It doesn't stay in the waterline. It disappears. And in the mid-30s, it's just not worth it at this price point. Let's talk about some lip products. I got this sent to me from Sochi Beauty. I wanted to love it. It's their lip balm. And what's great about it is it's refillable. The packaging is magnetic. There's so many beautiful things about this. But guess who smelled expired the minute it arrived at my door? Oh my goodness. And it only smells worse now. I am not about to put that on my lips. And the fact that I know they're a clean brand and they don't use preservatives, but something needs to happen to the formula so it doesn't smell like an expired crayon straight from the box. Something else that was sent to me that I didn't like is this defining liner. This is a lip liner from City Beauty. And City Beauty does the City Lips lip glosses that people really seem to like. Look, I'm trying to make a mark and I can't. These have dried up completely. This was a gel liner. I haven't even had these that long. But if a liner can't even make it through a year before going completely dry, I don't care. It did have the nice touch of having like a sharpener on the other end. But I had one, it broke as I was trying to draw with it. These just are not worth the money and they're kind of expensive for what they are. All right, here's something from the drugstore that I really wanted to love, but it didn't work for me because of my mature lips. My lips have fine lines all around them, and what I'm looking for is for product to stay within the lines of my lips, to not leave that vermilion border. Guess who does? This is the Glimmer Lip Oil from Revlon. This was actually a really pretty formula. I like the way that it looked. I like the big juicy doe foot. I like everything about this except she doesn't stay. And I don't have time and energy for that. I have other products that will stay in place. This one doesn't. All right. Another lip product that I did not like. This is from LYS. This is their, I forget what it's called, but it's one of those click up lip balms, and you can only advance it, you can't turn it back. So you turn it up, but look how much product. It's so melty. It's just a mess. You can't apply this without needing to bring a finger in to smooth things out. If you bring a finger in to smooth things out, but I don't want to get lip goo on my finger. I want it to be able to apply straight from the bullet and call it good, but this is too soft. I feel like the packaging for this should have been rethought, because you can see right through here where it's so thin, and then also where there's giant gobs of lip product. This product, I think, needs to be in different packaging because the product itself is not bad. It's just not working in this delivery method. I've been trying things from Tier, and I was really hoping to love their lip oil. I gave this to my youngest because they seem to like it, and they don't mind that it's pH adjusting. I wish I had known that when I bought it. One thing I will tell you is that they do have a nice juicy doe foot on here that I like. It's very soft and very flocked. It does a pretty good job of keeping your lips hydrated. This does leave the vermilion border. It's not going to stay where it's put. That's one of the reasons that I don't like it, but it's also pH adjusting, and that's not what I'm looking for. I happened to pick this up from Half Magic, and I should have known. I should have known because they had it in the description that it was a glitter lipstick. And part of me was like, that sounds like fun. No. And you can see that there is a lot of pearl in this product. And is it a fun sort of, yeah, but it's basically just pink glitter. That's all it is. There's very little backing color to this. This is for a younger person than I am. You know, being in my 50s, this is for my kids. This is not for me. And that was my mistake in picking it up, but it was one of the biggest disappointments when it came to lip products this year. Last thing I have for you is not necessarily this specific product, but what it came in. And this is from Laneige. Laneige's Glaze Craze Tinted Lip Serum. I actually really like this, but it came in a Sephora lip set. And the whole lip set was nothing but kind of nudie browns. It was very pretty, but they had little teeny tiny samples that I instantly lost. The two full-size things was this and one of the Merit lip liners. Also, which I still have. This I gave to my youngest. They love it. I kept the lip liner because I love the lip liner. But the truth was I spent almost $50 on a couple of full-size things and a bunch of samples that turned out not to be that great. And I feel like I should be a little bit more cautious when buying one of the Sephora Favorites kits because it looked really good and it looked like it was going to be fun. And truthfully, it was nothing but a disappointment. I got a couple of good things out of it, but the only one that I'm still reaching for is the lip liner. All right, that's everything that's let me down this year. I definitely would love to know what products you've been trying that were a huge flop or a fail for you. Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, if you like any of these products and they work for you, I'm so happy. That makes me happy, but they just didn't work for what my needs were and what I'm hoping for out of a product. Thanks for making the time to watch today. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'm not going to link any of these for you because I don't want you to buy them. But I will put in the description box what I have on my face today if you're curious. Thank you so much for making the time to watch today, and I will see you again soon.